The rain hammered against the roof like 1,000 unspoken regrets. And in that relentless downpour, I found myself at a stranger's door, my heart pounding harder than the storm outside. My neighbor, Mrs. Hargrove, had thrust a crumpled note into my hand that morning. Something about her friend's busted lock and a plea for the handyman down the hall to play hero. But as I twisted the knob, the door didn't budge. It was sealed tight from the inside, trapping whatever secrets lay beyond in a silence that screamed louder than any cry for help. And then, a voice, low, edged with desperation, whispered through the crack. "Don't leave, please. I can't open it yet." I froze, my knuckles white around the cold brass handle. The scent of damp earth and distant pine from the Seattle streets mingling with the faint, warm trace of coffee seeping under the door. Alex Rivera, 28-year-old fix-it guy with calluses on his palms and scars on his soul, wasn't used to voices that begged like that. I'd patched leaks and mended fences for half the block in this foggy corner of Capitol Hill, but nothing prepared me for the raw ache in that plea. It hooked into me like a rusted bolt, pulling at the loose threads of my own unraveling life, the one where I'd lost Jamie 2 years back to a car wreck on I-5, leaving me to hammer away at solitude in my one-bedroom walk-up. "Who's there?" I called back, my voice steadier than I felt, leaning my forehead against the splintered wood as if I could will it open with sheer stubbornness. The rain picked up, drumming a frantic rhythm on the awning above, and for a heartbeat, there was only the sound of labored breathing on the other side. Then, softer, almost broken, "Jordan Hale, your neighbor's friend. God, this is embarrassing. Just talk to me for a minute before you go." I glanced over my shoulder at the empty street, the sodium glow of lamps blurring into halos through the mist. Mrs. Hargrove's note had been vague. Trouble with the lock, need it fixed ASAP. But this felt like stepping into someone else's storm. I set my toolbox down with a metallic thud that echoed like a decision made, and slid to the floor, back against the door. "All right, Jordan. I'm Alex. What's got you barricading yourself in like Fort Knox? Locks jammed? Or is it something else?" A chuckle, brittle as autumn leaves, filtered through. "Both, probably. I moved in last week. Rented the place from a buddy who's out of town. Thought it'd be a fresh start. But old habits, they stick like gum on your shoe." There was a pause, the creak of floorboards as he shifted, and I pictured him there, mirroring me on the other side, two strangers tethered by a slab of oak. Seattle had a way of doing that, wrapping you in its gray embrace until your walls felt as thin as the fog rolling off Elliott Bay. I rubbed my jaw, stubble rasping under my fingers, remembering how Jamie used to tease me about my fixer-upper face. God, I missed that easy banter, the way he'd pull me into bed after a long day, his laughter chasing away the chill. But grief wasn't a lock you could pick. It was a chain that rusted you from the inside out. "Fresh starts are overrated," I said, aiming for levity but landing on truth. "Mine involved a lot of takeout and bad TV. What's yours hiding from?" The door seemed to hold its breath. When he spoke again, his words tumbled out like they'd been dammed up too long. "An ex who thought love meant ownership. We were together 5 years, met in college at UW. Back when I was still pretending labels didn't matter. He didn't take the breakup well. Showed up last night, pounding on the door like he owned me. I changed the locks, but then panic set in. What if he comes back? What if I'm just running in circles?" My chest tightened, a familiar vice. I'd known that fear, not from an ex, but from the world after Jamie. The sideways glances at the hardware store, the whispers about the guy who lives alone but keeps photos of some dude on his fridge. Coming out in a place like this, where rain hid your tears but not your truths, was like handing someone a hammer and begging them not to swing. "Hey," I murmured, pressing my palm flat against the wood, wishing I could reach through. "You're not running alone tonight. Tell me about him, the good parts first. Makes the bad ones easier to swallow." Jordan's voice warmed, tentative at first, like sunlight piercing clouds. His name was Tyler, artist type, always sketching in coffee shops, with this laugh that could light up a blackout. We'd hike Discovery Park on weekends, stealing kisses under the cedars, pretending the world was ours. He trailed off and I heard the rustle of fabric, maybe him hugging his knees. But then it twisted. Jealousy turned to control. "Don't go out with those friends, Jordan. They're not good for you." And I stayed because love's supposed to hurt a little, right? Until it starts carving pieces out. I nodded, though he couldn't see, my own memories flooding in. Jamie and I, tangled in sheets on lazy Sundays, his head on my chest as we dreamed of a cabin up in the Olympics. Right? Until it doesn't feel like love anymore. The words hung heavy, and in that shared vulnerability something shifted. The door wasn't just a barrier. It was a confessional, forcing us to bare souls without the armor of faces or facades. We talked for what felt like hours, the rain easing to a drizzle as Jordan spilled fragments of his life. Growing up in a conservative pocket of Spokane, the terror of his first kiss with a boy behind the bleachers, the relief of escaping to Seattle's queer scene in the U-District bars. I countered with my own Puerto Rican roots in a tight-knit family that loved hard but questioned harder. The night I told my sister about Jamie, and she hugged me tighter than ever. Laughter crept in, too. His story of a disastrous drag brunch, my epic fail at building IKEA shelves that collapsed mid-date. By the time the streetlights flickered on fully, casting golden pools on the sidewalk, my back ached from the hard stoop, but my heart felt lighter, unlatched. "Alex," he said, his tone laced with a new softness. "You're still out there? In the rain?" "Wouldn't dream of bailing," I replied, a grin tugging at my lips. "Locks can wait. People, they can't." A key scraped in the mechanism, hesitant. Then sure. The door swung inward, and there he was, Jordan Hale, 30 if a day, with storm-blue eyes that held the weight of tempests and the spark of dawns. Lean and disheveled, blonde waves framing a face etched with quiet strength. He wore faded jeans and a hoodie that smelled of fresh laundry and faint cologne. He looked at me like I was the answer to a question he hadn't dared ask, and in that gaze, I saw my own reflection. Not the broken handyman, but the man ready to build again. "Come in," he whispered, stepping aside, "before the storm starts up again." I crossed the threshold, toolbox forgotten on the porch, and as the door clicked shut behind us, not locked, not barred, the real unlocking began. The living room was a cozy chaos of unpacked boxes and half-hung art. Canvases splashed with abstract swirls of blue and gold that mirrored the Puget Sound at twilight. Jordan flicked on a lamp, its warm light chasing shadows from the corners, and gestured to the worn leather couch. "Coffee? Or something stronger? I think I've got whiskey buried in here somewhere." "Coffee's good," I said, shrugging off my damp jacket, suddenly hyper-aware of the space between us, charged like the air before thunder. He moved to the kitchenette, a narrow galley with mismatched mugs and a window overlooking the alley where ferns clung to brick walls. As the percolator gurgled to life, I sank into the cushions, scanning the room for clues to this man who'd barricaded his heart. A photo on the mantel caught my eye. Jordan, younger, arm around a dark-haired guy at what looked like pride in the streets, rainbow flags whipping in the wind. Tyler, no doubt. The smile on his face was radiant. But now, watching Jordan's shoulders tense as he poured, I saw the ghosts lingering. He handed me a steaming mug, our fingers brushing. A spark that neither of us acknowledged, but it lingered, humming in the quiet. "Thanks for staying," he said, settling on the opposite end of the couch, knees drawn up like he might bolt. "I don't usually unload on strangers." "You're not a stranger anymore," I countered, sipping the bitter brew, its heat grounding me. "And I've fixed enough doors to know when one's not the real problem." Our eyes met, and there it was, the pull, magnetic and terrifying, like staring down a cliff's edge and wanting to jump. He set his mug down, running a hand through his hair. "It's been 6 months since Tyler. I thought Seattle would wash it away. The rain, the crowds at Pike Place, the anonymity. But last night he texted, 'I miss you. Come back.' And I froze. What if he's right? What if I'm the one who broke us?" The vulnerability in his voice cracked something open in me. I leaned forward, elbows on knees. "Nah, you didn't break anything. Sounds like he did, piece by piece. I know that dance. Staying because the alternative feels like freefall." I hesitated, then plunged in. "Lost my partner 2 years ago. Car accident. Jamie was everything. The kind of guy who made you believe in forever. After I locked up 2, not doors but me. Dates felt like betrayals. Like moving on meant forgetting." Jordan's gaze softened, empathy etching lines around his eyes. "I'm sorry. That kind of loss. It rewires you." He scooted closer, the couch dipping under his weight, our thighs almost touching. "How do you even start again?" "You don't," I said, voice rough. "You just keep showing up. Like tonight." The air thickened, laced with the scent of rain-soaked earth wafting through a cracked window and the subtle musk of him, clean with a hint of sandalwood. My pulse thrummed, awareness prickling my skin. This wasn't just talk. It was the prelude to something raw, uncharted. He reached out, tentative, his hand covering mine on the cushion. Warmth bloomed where our skin met, sending a jolt straight to my core. "Alex," he breathed. "You're doing that for me right now. Showing up." Our faces were inches apart now, breaths mingling. I could see the flecks of green in his blue eyes, the faint scar above his lip from some long-ago adventure. The world narrowed to this him, me, the unspoken invitation hanging between us. "Jordan?" I murmured, my free hand rising to cup his jaw, thumb tracing the stubble there. It was soft, yielding, and he leaned into it with a sigh that undid me. Our lips met slowly, a brush at first, testing, tasting the coffee and the salt of unshed tears. Then deeper, hungrier, his fingers threading into my curls as I pulled him closer. He tasted like redemption, like the storm breaking into sunlight. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed together. "This okay?" I whispered, heart slamming against ribs. "More than," he replied, a smile ghosting his lips. "Don't stop." We didn't. Clothes shed in a trail to the bedroom, a rumpled space with a queen bed piled high with quilts and the distant hum of traffic below. His body under mine was lean muscle and yielding warmth, every touch a revelation. The curve of his hip, the arch of his back as I kissed down his chest, eliciting gasps that echoed my own rising need. It was frantic yet tender, a collision of grief and hope, our bodies speaking what words couldn't. "I'm here. I see you. Let's try." Afterward, tangled in sheets that smelled of him, we lay in the dim glow from the street lamp, his head on my chest, my arm draped possessively over his waist. "That lock," I teased, voice husky, "still needs fixing. Or was that just an excuse?" He laughed, a sound like bells in the rain. "Maybe both. But if you fix it tomorrow, promise you'll come back? Not as the handyman." "Deal," I said, kissing his temple. "As me." Sleep came easy that night, the storm outside a lullaby. But dawn brought the first crack in our fragile peace. A knock at the door, sharp and insistent. Jordan bolted upright, color draining from his face. "It's him," he whispered, terror etching his features. "Tyler." I pulled on my jeans, heart racing anew. Not with fear, but fury. This wasn't over. The locks we'd picked in our souls were about to be tested by the real world. The knocking escalated, a fist pounding like Judgment Day. "Jordan, open up. We need to talk." Tyler's voice boomed, laced with that false charm I'd already grown to hate from Jordan's stories. Smooth as Seattle silk, sharp as broken glass. Jordan huddled at the bed's edge, sheet clutched to his chest, eyes wide with the hunted look of prey. "Alex, what do I do? He's not supposed to be here." I blocked him everywhere. I stood, blocking the bedroom door, my stance all protective instinct. "You don't face him alone. Stay here." Barefoot on the cold hardwood, I padded to the front, peering through the peephole. A guy in his 30s, built like a linebacker gone soft, with a 5 o'clock shadow and eyes burning with possession. He rattled the knob, cursing under his breath. "Jordan's not alone," I called out, voice steady as rebar. "And he's not opening that door. Whatever you've got to say it to me." Silence, then a snarl. "Who the hell are you? His new bodyguard? Tell him we're not done. He owes me an explanation." "Owes you?" I echoed, heat rising in my chest. This was the poison Jordan had described, the entitlement wrapped in love's name. "Buddy, love doesn't keep score. He left because you couldn't let go. Now walk away, or I'll make sure the cops hear about the harassment." The knob twisted violently, the frame shuddering. "You don't know shit. 5 years, man. I made him who he is." From the bedroom, a muffled sob, Jordan, crumbling under the weight. That sound fueled me, turning anger to steel. I yanked the door open just a crack, chain still latched, meeting Tyler's glare head-on. Rain from last night slicked the porch, but the air crackled with confrontation. "You broke him," I said low, lethal. "Tried to own him like some trophy, but he's not yours. And if you don't leave now, I'll call every neighbor on this block, Mrs. Hargrove included, and we'll make sure you never darken his door again." Tyler's face twisted, a war of rage and regret. For a split second, I saw the man Jordan once loved, the artist with dreams in his eyes, but it was buried under layers of toxicity. "You'll regret this," he spat, but his voice wavered, the bluff called. "Only regret is you wasted your time." I shot back, slamming the door and twisting the deadbolt with finality. My hands shook as I leaned against it, adrenaline crashing like waves on Alki Beach. From the bedroom, "Alex." I found him curled on the bed, tears streaking his cheeks, but when I wrapped him in my arms, he clung like a lifeline. "You faced him for me?" he murmured into my neck, body trembling. "No one's ever." "I'm not no one," I said fiercely, tilting his chin up. Our kiss was salt and solace, a balm against the bruise. "We're in this, together." That afternoon, with Tyler's truck rumbling away down the hill, we tackled the lock, me with my tools, him handing wrenches, our laughter punctuating the clinks. But as the sun dipped low, painting the room in amber, Jordan's phone buzzed. A text from his sister in Spokane. "Heard you're in Seattle. Mom's asking about that friend you're seeing." "Spill?" He showed me, anxiety flickering. "Coming out again? To family who half get it." I squeezed his hand. "We faced that too. one door at a time. Days blurred into a rhythm that felt like home. Mornings with coffee on the fire escape, watching fairies slice the sound. Evenings tangled in each other, exploring bodies and stories with equal hunger. Jordan's art bloomed, sketches of us under rain-slicked umbrellas, capturing the curve of my smile in charcoal. I opened up about Jamie, sharing photos from a drawer I'd sealed shut, and Jordan listened without pity, just presence that healed. But Seattle's undercurrents ran deep, and Tyler's shadow lingered. A week in, I came home from a job in Fremont, patching a roof on a houseboat to find Jordan pacing, a crumpled flyer in his fist. "Pride's this weekend," he said, voice tight. He texted again, said he'd be there, watching. The float I'd built in my chest sank. Pride wasn't just celebration. For us, it was armor and rebellion, a reclaiming in a city that embraced but still judged. "Then we go," I declared, pulling him close. "Together. Show him, and the world, what real love looks like." He searched my face, doubt warring with desire. "You're sure? It's not just a party." Exposing. I kissed him then, deep and claiming, tasting his fear and fanning it into fire. "I'm sure, because with you, every risk feels like flying." Pride weekend dawned crisp, the rare blue sky a gift from the gods. We joined the throng on 4th Avenue, rainbows exploding in flags and face paint, bass thumping from DJ booths as drag queens strutted like royalty. Jordan's hand in mine was slick with nerves, but his grip tightened with each step. Past the leather daddies, the families with kids waving signs, the couples like us stealing kisses amid the chaos. And there, amid the sea of glitter, was Tyler, leaning against a lamppost, eyes locked on us like a hawk. Jordan stiffened, but I turned him gently, cupping his face. "Eyes on me," I whispered, and pulled him into the crowd's heart, where a live band struck up Born This Way. We danced wild, unbridled, bodies pressed in the press, his laughter bubbling free as confetti rained down. Tyler approached once, weaving through, but a circle of allies, queer folks we'd met at a U-District open mic, formed a subtle wall, their stares a silent warning. He faltered, then vanished into the masses, the tether snapped for good. That night, back in the apartment, sweat slick and euphoric, we made love with the windows open. City sounds a symphony to our moans. "I love you," Jordan gasped, the words a vow etched in skin. "Love you too," I echoed, and meant it, fierce, forever. But life wasn't a fairy tale. It was a fixer-upper, full of leaks and loose screws. 2 months later, Jordan's gallery show loomed. A breakout in Pioneer Square, and my business hit a snag. A big contract fell through, leaving bills stacking like storm clouds. We argued that night over takeout, words sharp as shears. "You're pulling away," he accused, voice cracking. "Like I'm just a rebound." "God, no." I shot back, regret instant. "It's me. Afraid of building something just to lose it again." The fight ended in tears, him storming to the studio, me alone with ghosts. Dawn found me at the door, toolkit in hand, not to fix a lock, but us. I knocked softly. "Jordan, remember that first night? You locked the door, but let me in anyway." The door opened, his eyes red-rimmed but soft. "And you stayed." We talked till noon, raw truth spilling. My fear of vulnerability, his of abandonment. By evening, we emerged stronger, hands clasped, ready for the long haul. The show was magic, his pieces selling fast, mine among them. A portrait of us, titled Unlocked. Critics raved, but the real win was his whisper in my ear amid the crowd. "This is our fresh start." Months turned to a year, the apartment evolving. Our photos on walls, a shared workbench for his art and my tools. Tyler became a footnote, a lesson in letting go. We hiked the Olympics, proposed under cedars with rings forged from scrap metal, a nod to our beginnings. On our anniversary, rain pattering like applause, I fixed that old lock one last time, for good measure. Jordan watched, grinning. "Think it'll stick? Like us?" I said, pulling him close. In Seattle's endless drizzle, we'd found our sun. Proof that sometimes, the best fixes start with a door locked from the inside, and the courage to whisper through it. The drizzle had softened to a mist by the time Jordan and I stepped out onto the fire escape that first real morning after, mugs of coffee steaming in our hands like fragile promises. Seattle sprawled below us, a mosaic of fog-shrouded rooftops and the distant gleam of the Space Needle piercing the gray like a defiant needle. He leaned against the railing, his blonde hair catching the faint light, and for a moment, I just watched him, 30 years of quiet storms etched into the lines of his shoulders, the the way his fingers drummed absently on the mug as if composing a melody only he could hear. "You always this broody at dawn?" I teased, bumping his hip with mine, the casual contact sending a familiar spark up my spine. He turned, blue eyes crinkling at the corners with that half-smile that unraveled me every time. "Only when I've got company worth brooding over." His free hand found the small of my back, pulling me flush against him, and we stood there, wrapped in each other and the chill air, the city awakening around us like it was cheering us on. It was too easy, that closeness, like slipping into a well-worn jacket on a rainy day. But beneath the warmth lurked the undercurrents, the what-ifs that nipped at our heels. Tyler's shadow, though faded, still cast long echoes. I'd catch Jordan glancing at his phone sometimes, a flicker of old fear before he'd set it face down and reach for me instead. And me? Jamie's ghost lingered in quiet moments, a pang when I'd pass our old haunt in the market, the stall where he'd haggle for fresh salmon with that infectious grin. We'd fallen into a rhythm by week's end, me heading out to jobs, routing tiles in Belltown condos or wiring lights in Queen and Victorians, while Jordan holed up in his makeshift studio, a corner of the living room cluttered with easels and paint-splattered drop cloths. He'd emerge at dusk, streaked with cerulean and ochre, smelling of turpentine and triumph, pulling me into kisses that tasted of creativity and craving. One evening, as I wrestled with a stubborn faucet in the kitchen, drips echoing like Morse code for my frustrations, Jordan draped a canvas over his shoulder, unveiling it with a flourish. "For you," he said, voice laced with nerves. It was us. My profile against the door that first night, rain blurring the edges, his silhouette bleeding into mine in shades of indigo and gold. The emotion poured from it, vulnerability in the cracked wood, hope in the merging lines. I traced the brushstrokes, throat tight. "Jordan, it's us." Unlocked. Setting the wrench aside, I drew him into my arms, our bodies aligning like puzzle pieces forged in fire. "How'd I get so damn lucky?" "Luck had nothing to do with it," he murmured against my lips, hands roaming under my shirt, igniting skin. "You showed up. That's everything." We tumbled onto the couch, a tangle of limbs and laughter, the canvas propped nearby like a sentinel. His touch was reverent, mapping scars I didn't know I had, the faint line from a childhood fall, the tension in my shoulders from carrying too much alone. I worshipped him back, lips trailing fire down his throat, eliciting moans that drowned out the distant fairy horns. It was slower this time, deliberate, a conversation without words, affirming what we'd whispered in the dark. "You're mine. We're real." After, sated and sticky, we lay with heads pillowed on each other's thighs, his fingers combing through my curls as I sketched lazy patterns on his calf. "Ever think about more?" he asked, voice soft. "Like a place that's ours, not borrowed." My heart stuttered. The apartment was his lease, a temporary haven, but the thought of roots, shared keys, joint bills, a bed that didn't echo with absences, lit something fierce in me. "Every day," I admitted. "But after Jamie, I got scared of building castles in the sand." He sat up, eyes searching mine. "This isn't sand, Alex. It's bedrock. With you, I feel steady." We sealed it with a kiss, practicalities buzzing in the background. Apartment hunts in Capitol Hill, budgets stretched thin but spirits high. But life, that capricious bastard, had other plans. The next morning, my phone rang mid-shower. Mrs. Hargrove, her voice a tremolo of worry. "Alex, dear, that friend of mine, Jordan? He mentioned you, but there's talk. An old flame sniffing around. Be careful, love. Hearts bruise easy in this town." I toweled off, water dripping like doubts, and found Jordan in the kitchen, flipping pancakes with forced cheer. "Heard from the grapevine?" I asked, sliding behind him to nuzzle his neck. He stiffened slightly, spatula pausing. "Tyler's been asking mutuals about me. Nothing direct, but it's like he's orbiting, waiting to crash." Rage simmered low in my gut, but I swallowed it, turning him to face me. "He crashes, he hits a wall, me. We're not hiding, Jordan. Not from him, not from anyone." His nod was resolute, but the tremor in his hand as he plated breakfast betrayed the storm. We ate in companionable quiet, forks clinking like toasts to resilience, but the seed of unease had taken root. That unease bloomed a few days later when I got a call for a rush job. Emergency lockout at a loft in Soto, industrial chic with exposed beams and a view of the rail yards. The client was frantic, a painter who'd locked himself out mid-meltdown. As I knelt by the door, picks dancing in the tumblers, it clicked open with a satisfying snick. The guy who answered was mid-40s, disheveled in paint-flecked overalls, eyes hollow. "Thanks, man. Rough night." "No sweat," I said, packing up, but as I turned to leave, he grabbed my arm, gentle, but insistent. Hey, you look familiar. Work around here much? Sometimes, I replied, polite but pulling away. Seattle was small for its sprawl. Faces blurred in bars and markets. He nodded, a ghost of a smile. Heard about a handyman who's got the neighborhood buzzing. Dating that artist Jordan Hale? Good for him. Tyler's a piece of work. Cheated on him last year, then played victim when Jordan walked. My blood ran cold, then hot. You know them. Old scene, buddy, he said, shrugging. Tyler's at it again, spreading stories, trying to worm back in. Watch your back. I drove home through sheets of rain, wipers slashing like accusations, mind racing. Tyler wasn't just lingering. He was poisoning the well. By the time I burst through the door, Jordan was at his easel, brush furious across canvas. Streaks of black and red, chaos incarnate. Talk to me? I demanded, dropping my bag. What aren't you saying? He whirled, palette knife in hand like a weapon. It's nothing, just, he called the gallery, pretending to be a collector, asking about my show, but really fishing for where I live. The room spun. And you didn't tell me? Because I didn't want to drag you into his mess. His voice broke, brush clattering to the floor. You're the one good thing, Alex. I can't lose that. You won't? I growled, closing the distance, hands framing his face. But we fight fair together. No more solo barricades. Tears welled, spilling hot on my thumbs. Promise. Promise. Our foreheads touched, breath sinking, and in that anchor, the fight drained. We cleaned up the paints side by side, silent solidarity, then retreated to bed early, bodies entwining as armor against the night. Sleep was fitful, dreams tangled with locks and lost keys, but morning brought clarity. Over breakfast, his pancakes a ritual now, I laid it out. We confront him. Clean. No drama. Jordan's eyes widened. How? Mutual friend. Neutral ground. End it for good. He chewed his lip, then nodded. Okay, for us. The meet was set for a coffee shop in Fremont, trolls and gnomes guarding the neutral zone. Tyler arrived late, smug in a leather jacket, but his facade cracked when he saw us hand in hand. What's this? New muscle? New life, Jordan said, voice steel. We're done, Tyler. No texts, no shows. Move on. I squeezed his hand, adding, or we do, for good measure. Tyler's jaw clenched, eyes darting between us. Then he deflated, shoulders slumping. Fine. I get it. Just wanted closure. Closure's this, Jordan replied, sliding a letter across the table. His words final and freeing. Tyler read it in silence, then stood, a broken man in the doorway. Take care. He left and the weight lifted, air sweeter. Jordan turned to me, grinning through tears. We did it. Yeah, I said, kissing him fierce. We. That victory fueled us. Jordan's show prep ramped up, canvases alive with our story. My business steadied with a referral from the Soto painter. But as pride loomed, the city's pulse quickened, and so did ours. We dove in, volunteering at the festival, painting floats with glitter and grit, our laughter echoing amid the planning chaos. One night, post-rehearsal, sticky with glue and high on hope, we collapsed on a blanket in Discovery Park, stars winking through the canopy. Ever imagine this? Jordan asked, head on my lap. All the time, I confessed. You, me, against the rain. His hand traced my jaw. Forever. Forever. The kiss sealed it under ancient trees that whispered approval. But forever tested us soon enough. A storm, literal and not, hit midweek. Gale force winds ripping shingles from roofs, flooding basements across the hill. Calls flooded my phone. Emergencies everywhere. And I dove in, days blurring into nights of tarps and pumps. Body aching but soul alight with purpose. Jordan waited up each time, hot meals and hotter welcomes, but exhaustion carved hollows under my eyes. One dawn, as I stumbled in mud-caked, he pulled me to the sink, washing my hands with gentle insistence. You're killing yourself, he murmured, suds swirling like worries. Can't stop, I sighed, leaning into him. People need fixing. So do you. His eyes held mine, fierce love. Let me. That broke me. Tears mixing with grime. We showered together, water cascading away the wear, his hands a salve on weary muscles. Under the spray, he dropped to knees, mouth worshipping me with devotion that rebuilt what fatigue tore down. I gasped his name, fingers and wet hair, release a thunderclap of gratitude. Dried and devoured in bed, we plotted balance. Shared calendars, nights off sacred. Team, he said, tracing tattoos on my arm, Jamie's initials, faded but fond. Team, I echoed. Pride arrived in a blaze, parade day electric, streets a river of color. We marched mid-pack, Jordan's banner, love unlocked, flapping proud. Tyler was nowhere, but eyes found us. Cheers from strangers, nods from kin. At the rally, on stage with mics hot, Jordan spoke, voice steady of breaking free, finding home in arms like mine. The crowd roared, and I pulled him down. Kiss amid applause, a vow broadcast live. That night, festival fires crackling. We danced slow in the throng, bodies synced to heartbeats. Proud of you, I whispered. Of us. Home found us tangled, ecstasy a crescendo, his cries mingling with mine. Release a shared supernova. In afterglow, whispers wove dreams. A cabin north, adoptions maybe, art shows in New York. But dawn brought reality's bite. A letter in the mail. Jordan's lease ending, rent hikes forcing choice. Move, he fretted, pacing. Or fight, I said. Ours. We hunted. A quirky bungalow in Wallingford. Garden for his blooms, garage for my shop. Signing papers, hands entwined. Felt like etching eternity. Months deepened our weave. Holidays with my sister. Her embrace for Jordan warm as tamales. His family visit, Spokane's conservatism thawed by our light. Tyler, a memory healed. One winter eve, snow rare and magic, I knelt by our hearth. Fire crackling, ring in pocket. Jordan, hail, you locked a door once, but opened a world. Marry me? Tears, yes, a kiss that melted snow. Yes, our story, not ended, but unfolding. Proof that from a locked door springs unlocked lives, rich with love's quiet thunder. Winter wrapped Seattle in its rare white cloak, blanketing the streets in a hush that amplified every heartbeat, every whispered vow. Jordan and I stood on our new porch in Wallingford, breath fogging the air as we watched flakes drift like confetti from some celestial wedding. The bungalow was ours, a fixer-upper with creaky floors and a kitchen begging for rent-us, but it smelled of possibility of us. His ring glinted on my finger, simple tungsten etched with a key motif, catching the lamplight as he pulled me inside, away from the cold. Future Mr. Rivera, hail, he teased, nipping my earlobe, voice husky with promise. Sounds like trouble. The best kind, I growled, backing him against the door. Our door, unchained and welcoming. Coats hit the floor in a heap, followed by shirts, my hands greedy for the heat of his skin. He arched into me, a moan escaping as I hitched his leg around my waist, our mouths crashing in a rhythm as old as longing. The hallway blurred, bodies stumbling toward the bedroom, a trail of jeans and boxers marking our path. On the bed, our bed, piled with quilts we'd picked together. He flipped us, straddling with a wicked grin, blonde hair tousled like a halo gone rogue. My turn to fix you, he murmured, lips trailing fire down my chest, tongue flicking scars and sensitive spots with artist's precision. I bucked, fingers twisting sheets, his name a litany as he took me deep, slow torture building to frenzy. Release shattered us both, waves crashing in unison, leaving us limp and laughing, limbs entwined like roots. Love you, he panted, head on my heart, listening to its steady drum. Always, I replied, kissing damp forehead. But love's forged tempers with fire, and ours heated soon. Spring thawed the snow, blooming cherry blossoms along the canals, but unearthed old weeds. Jordan's career surged, a solo exhibit in Soto drawing scouts from galleries in Portland, whispers of national tours. My shop thrived too, crew expanding to tackle Renaissance in the booming tech enclaves, but the hours stretched, pulling us like taffy. One April evening, I dragged in late, sawdust in my hair and ache in my bones, to find the house dim, a single lamp glowing in the studio. Jordan hunched over a canvas, strokes furious, face gaunt in the light. Missed dinner again? He asked, not looking up, voice edged like a dull blade. Sorry, babe. Bid ran long, Ballard project. I dropped my keys, reaching for him, but he shrugged off the touch. It's always something. The brush slammed down, paint splattering like accusations. We're engaged, Alex. Not roommates passing ships. The word stung truth's barb. I sank onto the stool, rubbing temples. I know. Just want to build this. Us, the house, everything solid. Solid. He whirled, eyes flashing. Feels like concrete, cold, cracking. When's the last time we talked? Really talked. Guilt twisted, sharp. Jamie's loss had wired me for provision over presence. Hammers over hearts. You're right. I've been hiding in work. Afraid if I stop, The grief catches up. His anger softened to sorrow, shoulders slumping. It's not just you. The show's pressure, Tyler's echoes, they make me doubt. Am I enough? For this life? I stood, closing the gap, hands gentle on his arms. More than. You're my anchor, Jordan. Let me prove it. We talked till midnight, raw, unfiltered. My fears of repeating loss, his of fading into my shadow. Dawn found us curled on the studio floor, plans sketched on napkins. Date nights mandatory, therapy for the ghosts. Together, he murmured, sealing with a kiss soft as petals. Renewed, we dove into wedding whispers, small, intimate, lakeside at Green Lake under summer sun. But Seattle's pulse quickened with community calls. Pride planning again, this time us as co-chairs for the float committee. Meetings in community centers buzzed with ideas. Drag story hours, youth panels. Our hands brushing over agendas, sparks flying amid the fervor. One session, a young activist, 17, fierce with neon hair, approached post-meet. You too inspire. How'd you know it was real? Jordan glanced at me, eyes warm. He knocked when I locked everyone out. That's how. She beamed, hugging us both. Moments like that fueled us, reminders of the human tapestry we wove. Yet trials tempered joy. Summer heatwave hit, turning the bungalow into a sauna. My AC installed job a beast. Scorching roofs, tempers flaring with the crew. I snapped at Jordan over a misplaced tool one night. Words harsh. Can't you see I'm buried? He recoiled, hurt flashing. Buried? Try creating under deadlines while planning our life solo. The slam of the door echoed my regret. I chased him to the garden, where he knelt among tomatoes, dirt-streaked cheeks wet. I'm sorry, I choked, kneeling too. Pushing you away 'cause I'm scared. He looked up, vulnerability raw. Scared of what? Me leaving. No, life taking you, like it did Jamie. Confession spilled, cathartic. He pulled me into mud and embrace, tears mingling with soil. Forgive, I whispered. Always. Under stars we made up slow, hands exploring like rediscovery, bodies joining in the grass, earth cradling our moans. Ecstasy bloomed, grounding us deeper. Fall gilded leaves, wedding nearing. We road tripped to Spokane for family blessings. His mom, tentative but tearful, hugging me tight. My sister toasting with sangria. To locks picked and hearts won. Back home, vows drafted mine. I fix what's broken, but you mended me. His, you turned my storm to sky. But fate's twist. A gallery offer for Jordan. 6 months in LA, scouting for a residency. Excitement warred with dread as we pored over maps at the kitchen table. Go, I urged, throat tight. Your dream. And yours? He pressed, hand over mine. We make it work. Weekends, calls. Love's not bound by zip codes. Decision made, but ache lingered. Departure day, airport goodbyes wrenching. Kisses fierce, promises whispered. 6 months, he said, boarding pass crumpled. Forever after. Months stretched, video calls our lifeline. His sun-kissed tales of Venice Beach, my rainy updates on the crew. Loneliness gnawed, nights cold without his warmth, but growth bloomed. I joined a grief group, voices sharing burdens lightening mine. He mentored queer artists, his light amplifying. Reunion at LAX was cinematic. Me waiting at arrivals. Sign scrawled, my locksmith's home. He ran into arms, kiss devouring distance. Homecoming night, we celebrated raw bodies frantic, reclaiming every inch, cries echoing off walls like homecoming hymns. Post-LA, wedding day dawned perfect. Green Lake shimmering, friends and rainbows, families mingled. Vows exchanged under arbor of wildflowers, rings sliding true. I do, we chorused, kiss sealing eternity amid cheers. Honeymoon in the San Juans, cabins by salt water, kayaks and campfires. One night, firelit, he traced my ring. Worth every lock, every storm. Everyone, I agreed, pulling him close. Life post-vows, a rhythm of us. Adopting a mutt named Bolt, his barks chasing solitude. Jordan's studio expanding, my shop hitting milestones. Pride that year we led the march, hands linked, Bolt in a tiny vest. Tyler's name surfaced once, rehab, a clean break, but it was footnote, our story paramount. Years layered. A son, Mateo, adopted it too, his giggles filling halls. Art shows in NYC, me beside him proud. Trials came, Mateo's questions on family, my back from a fall. But we faced them, toolbox and canvas side by side. On our 10th, revisiting that first door, now ours repainted, we toasted. To beginnings, Jordan said. To us, I replied. In Seattle's eternal rain, we'd forged sun. Proof love unlocks not just doors, but destinies. The San Juan's salt air clung to our skin like a lover's promise as Jordan and I paddled our kayak through the archipelago's glassy channels, Mateo giggling from the life vest strapped to Jordan's chest. At 3, our sun was a whirlwind of dark curls and boundless curiosity. My hazel eyes in a face that echoed Jordan's freckles, a perfect blend that still stole my breath. The islands rose around us jagged and green, orcas breaching in distant pods, a symphony of waves lapping against hulls that underscored the peace we'd carved from chaos. Look, Papa, dolphin, Mateo squealed, pointing a chubby finger, though it was just a seal bobbing cheeky. Close enough, buddy, I laughed, dipping the paddle, muscles burning sweet from the effort. Jordan twisted to grin at me over his shoulder, blue eyes sparkling with that mix of mischief and adoration that had hooked me a decade back. You're both hopeless romantics, he teased, steering us toward a secluded cove where pines dipped low, their needles whispering secrets to the wind. Guilty, I admitted, shipping oars to trail fingers in the cool water. But with views like this, can't help it. We beached on a pebble shore, spreading a picnic of salmon sandwiches and berries, local, fresh, a nod to Jamie's favorite hauls from the market. Mateo toddled off to poke at crabs, Jordan and I leaning back on elbows, shoulders touching. 10 years married, and his nearness still ignited, subtle now, a simmer rather than blaze, but no less potent. Remember our first trip? He murmured, hand finding mine, thumb circling the ring. That rainy weekend in the Olympics, before everything got so wonderfully complicated. I squeezed, memories flooding. Tense sex in a downpour, laughter muffled by thunder. How could I forget? You burned the s'mores, blamed the rain. He chuckled, low and warm. Still do. The kiss was lazy, deepening with the sun's descent. Mateo's distant chatter a joyful underscore. We pulled apart at his cry, Mama, crab. Jordan's artist hands gentle as he scooped our boy, showing him how to release the pinchers without harm. Parenting had rewritten us. Sleepless nights trading off bottles, first steps wobbling into arms, preschool drop-offs with lump-in-throat pride. But it amplified the love, turning individual flames to hearth fire. Jordan's art evolved too, pieces now infused with family. Abstracts of tiny hands in paint, Mateo's chaos captured in joyful splatters. My shop, a family affair, weekends with him helping wield screwdrivers, Jordan sketching logos for the van. Yet, as autumn crept in with its amber haze, cracks spiderwebbed our idol. Jordan's career crested, a major commission from a MoMA curator, months in New York sketching installations. Excitement buzzed, but so did the old specter, distance. We've done it before, I said over dinner, Mateo smearing peas like modern art. LA was tough, but we survived. He nodded, but eyes shadowed. This feels bigger. What if it changes us? The city's pull, it's seductive. I reached across, wiping Mateo's chin. It pulls, but home holds. You're my north, Jordan. The send-off was airport redux, hugs fierce, promises pixelated in FaceTime frames. Solo parenting kicked my ass. Bedtime stories solo, school runs in the drizzle, nights where the bed echoed hollow. But Mateo's hugs bridged gaps, his Miss Daddy? Tugging heartstrings till I ached. Jordan's updates glowed, sketches of skyline spires, queer art scenes in Brooklyn bars, but laced with fatigue. One call, voice cracking. It's amazing, but I miss the chaos, our chaos. Come home snippets, I urged. Weekend warrior. He did, flight snatched, landing in my arms at Seattle-Tacoma, Mateo barreling into legs. Those reunions were firestorms. Rushed dinners devolving to after-bedtime trysts, bodies reclaiming territory with urgent hands, moans hushed against pillows. Need you, he'd gasp, and I'd lose myself in him, thrusts deep and declaring. But the commission dragged, deadlines gnawing. Halfway through, a curveball. MoMA wanted extensions, a solo wing. Jordan called late one night, screen glowing in our dim kitchen. Alex, it's a dream, but it means 6 more months. With Mateo starting kinder. The silence stretched, heavy as fog. What are you asking? I whispered, gut twisting. To come, all of us, trial run. Sublet the bungalow, enroll him in school there. Exile from Seattle, the city that birthed us, rain that baptized our love, panic flared. And my shop? Crew relies on me. Remote some, branch out. We've got savings. His plea pierced, eyes pleading for partnership, not sacrifice. I paced, mind whirlwind. Uprooting roots, but for wings? Mateo's future, Jordan's legacy. Dawn deliberating. I called back, yes, for you, for us. The move was maelstrom. Packing boxes amid laughter and tears, goodbyes to Mrs. Hargrove's hugs, crew toasts with IPAs. New York swallowed us. Brooklyn brownstone rented, air thick with horns and hustle. Mateo wide-eyed at subways snaking underground. First weeks dazzled. Central Park picnics, Jordan's studio in Chelsea buzzing with energy. My consults via Zoom bridging coasts. But friction sparked. City's clamor grating on Seattle souls. Mateo's confusion in new daycare. Nights where jet lag stole intimacy. One storm-lashed evening. Thunder rare and thrilling. Tension boiled. Jordan snapped over a spilled takeout. Can't you see I'm drowning here? This was your idea. My idea? I shot back, voice rising over rain-lashed windows. I said yes for you. Now it's poison. Mateo whimpered from his room, the sound dousing flames. We retreated, apologies murmured over rocking him back to sleep. In bed later, backs turned, silence festered till Jordan rolled over, hand tentative on my hip. I'm scared, he confessed, of losing the magic. I turned, pulling him close. Magic's us, not zip codes. The kiss ignited, slow burn to inferno. Hands roaming familiar paths, bodies joining in reconciliation's rhythm. His gasps filled the room, my name a prayer as we crested together, aftershocks sealing peace. We adapted, family therapy for the transition, playdates in Prospect Park, my shop partnering with East Coast firms for hybrid gigs. Jordan's exhibit opening was triumph. Critics raving, us in tuxes arm in arm, Mateo beaming from the front row in tiny bow tie. But homesickness tugged, especially holidays. Thanksgiving in a cramped diner, missing tamales and tree lightings. Christmas Eve, snow blanketing stoops. We bundled Mateo for carriage rides. But his question pierced. When home, Papa? Jordan's eyes met mine, glistening. Soon, Mijo. Decision crystallized post-New Year. Exhibit wrapped, we'd return. Enriched, not erased. Final weeks savored. MoMA halls echoing with our whispers, last falafel runs. A tattoo inked. Matching keys on wrists, unlocking futures. Homecoming to Seattle was bomb. Bungalow waiting, rain welcoming like old friend. Crew barbecue on the lawn. Mateo reuniting with neighborhood kids. Jordan and I stealing moments on the porch, rocking in chairs we built. That night, kids Abed, we celebrated return. Wine by fire, bodies slow dancing to jazz from the stereo. Worth it? He asked, lips on my neck. Every mile. Undressing by hearth glow, we made love unhurried, fingers interlacing, eyes locked through waves of pleasure, release a homecoming hymn. Years flowed. Mateo thriving in school, artsy like his dad, handy like me. Jordan's residency's local now, my shop franchising north. Pride evolved, us mentoring youth, sharing our locked door tale on panels, inspiring wide-eyed faces. A scare came at 15 for Mateo. Bullies taunting his two-dad home, but he faced them, our strength his shield, emerging prouder. On 20th anniversary, revisiting Green Lake, rings renewed in water's edge vow. Still unlocking? Jordan asked, silver threading his hair. Always, I said, kiss eternal. Our legacy, a family forged in storms, unlocked by love's persistent key, teaching that home isn't place, but hearts intertwined, rain or shine. Mateo's laughter echoed through the bungalow like sunlight piercing overcast skies, a sound that had become the heartbeat of our Wallingford haven. At 12 now, he was all gangly limbs and quick wit. My build broadening into adolescence, Jordan's artistic flair in the murals, he doodled on sketchpads during family game nights. We turned the garage into his domain, a workbench cluttered with model kits and paints, where he'd tinker beside me, asking questions that bridged worlds. Dad, how's a lock like a poem? Both hide meanings. Jordan, overhearing from the kitchen where he prepped dinner. Vegan stir-fry, his latest experiment. Chuckled, wiping hands on a towel patterned with keys. Poetic justice, kiddo. Your old man's got layers. I ruffled Mateo's curls, now darkening to my shade, pride swelling. 20 years woven into this tapestry. Anniversaries marked with hikes in the Cascades, where we'd renew vows under evergreens, rings glinting like stars. Jordan's career had plateaued into mastery. Professor at Cornish College, mentoring queer artists with the same passion that first drew me to his barricaded door. My shop? A small empire, 3 locations from Everett to Tacoma, but home base remained our bungalow, creaks and all. Life's patina brought polish and patina alike. We'd weathered Mateo's tween tempests, crushes confessed in hushed talks, identity questions navigated with books and brunches at queer cafes. What if I'm like you too? He'd asked once, cheeks flushed. Jordan and I exchanged glances, then enveloped him in hugs. Then you're perfect. Love's a spectrum, Mijo, yours to color. But autumn's chill heralded a frostier trial. Jordan's mother, Elena, called from Spokane, voice frail over the line. Cancer, sweetheart. Stage 3. Come soon. The words landed like a wrench dropped in silence. Elena had evolved from wary acceptance to fierce ally, baking tamales at our wedding, FaceTiming Mateo weekly with stories of her youth. Now hospital visits loomed, a shadow over our son. We drove east that weekend, Mateo wide-eyed at the wheat fields rolling like golden waves, I-90 bridging worlds. Elena lay pale in her bed, but eyes lit at our entrance. My boys, she whispered, hands trembling as she clasped ours. Jordan knelt, tears silent, while Mateo perched on the edge, drawing her a card, flowers in vibrant chaos. Miss Elena, he said, this'll make you strong, like Dad's paintings. She smiled, weak but true. It will, Tesoro. Days blurred. Vigils by beeping machines, Spokane's dry air cracking lips, family dinners tense with unspoken fears. I held Jordan at night in the guest room, his sobs muffled in my chest. Grief's raw edge I'd known too well. She can't leave, he choked. Not yet. She won't alone, I soothed, rocking him like Mateo in infancy. We're here. Elena's fight stretched months, chemo cycles, remissions teasing hope. We shuttled back and forth, me handling shop remotely, Jordan guest lecturing via Zoom, Mateo resilient but fraying, homework forgotten in worry. One brutal January, snow blanketing the Palouse, the call came, hospice. We raced, tires chaining against ice, arriving to her final rally. Proud, she rasped to Jordan, hand in his, of your love, your family. To me, kept my boys safe. Thank you. To Mateo, be brave like them. She slipped away at dawn, room gold with light, leaving a void echoing. Funeral was Quaker simple, friends sharing tales of her quiet fire. Activist in the 70s, coming to terms late but fully. Jordan spoke, voice steady. Mom taught me love unlocks even the rusted hearts. Graveside, under evergreens dusted white. We stood arm in arm, Mateo between, shovels of earth a somber drum. After, at the house, hers now Jordan's inheritance. We sifted memories. Photo albums of his childhood, letters yellowed with time. That night, exhaustion crashed, but solace stirred. In her bed, sheets still scented with lavender, Jordan and I clung, bodies seeking anchor. Need you, he breathed, hands urgent, unzipping grief's straitjacket. I entered him slow, gazes locked, thrusts a dialogue of loss and life, moans mingling with tears. Climax cleansed, leaving us spent, souls stitched closer. Healing unfolded slow, Jordan channeling sorrow into a series. Matrons, portraits of Elena in bold strokes, exhibited to acclaim. Mateo journaled, words tumbling like his drawings. I expanded the shop's community arm, free renos for low-income families. Elena's legacy in hammer blows. Spring bloomed tentative, cherry trees, confetti ing streets. Mateo's birthday 13, bar mitzvah absent but queer rite of passage we crafted. A circle at the lake, friends and family affirming his path. Today I claim my story, he read, voice cracking strong. Jordan teared, squeezing my hand. But ripples from loss lapped at edges. Jordan withdrew into work, sketches frantic, dinners silent. One eve, as I wrestled a jam drawer, stubborn oak mocking me, he snapped, "Can't fix everything, Alex." I straightened, wrench clattering. Trying to fix us? You've been a ghost since. Since Mom? Yeah, because it hurts. And you, Mr. Stoic. Acting like it's all nailed down. Hurt flared. I'm grieving too. Holding it for you, for him. The air crackled. Mateo peeking from stairs, eyes wide. Jordan deflated, sinking to floor. I'm sorry. Drowning. Not waving. I knelt, pulling him in. Then we swim together. Mateo joined. Family huddle. Tears. Then tacos. Laughter reclaiming space. Therapy became our toolkit, sessions unpacking widowhood's echo in Elena's passing, Jordan's orphan ache, Mateo's big feels. Words unlocked more than pics ever could. Summer healed. Camp for Mateo at Camp 10 Trees. Queer kids forging bonds. Jordan and I weekend in wine country. Walla Walla vines heavy with grapes. Tasting life sweet. One vineyard eve. Sunset painting hills vermilion. We picnicked. Cheese and whispers. Still choose you, he said, feeding me a berry juice staining lips. Every vintage, I replied, tumbling him into grass. Love-making languid. Fingers laced. Bodies rolling in earth's cradle. Release of vintage pour. Fall brought harvest. Mateo's first crush. A boy from art club. Awkward texts we coached with grins. Pride that year. He marched with us. Sign bold. Love multiplies. A scare mid-season. My checkup flagged irregular heartbeat. Stress. Doc said. But tests loomed. Jordan's panic mirrored mine. Holding vigil in sterile waits. Not without you, he vowed. Kiss fierce in parking lot. Clear, precautions, meds, but lesson etched. Fragility's thread. We prioritized. Shop delegated. Studio hours capped. Date nights ritual. Jazz at Dimitrio's. Dancing cheek to cheek. Mateo at 14 bloomed. Soccer star with a sketchbook. Coming out casual over breakfast. Like you guys. Bye, maybe? Feels right. Pride swelled. Hugs endless. Our boy, Jordan whispered later, as we watched him bike off. Winter's gift. Elena's house sold. Proceeds funding Mateo's college fund and a cabin down payment. Our Olympics dream. First trip, snowshoeing trails, firelit nights with Esmores redeemed. No burns. On trail one morn, Jordan paused, breath clouding. This, us, him. It's the art I never knew to paint. I kissed gloved hand. Masterpiece. Back home. Life's canvas continued. Graduations. First love's heartbreaks mended with ice cream and talks. Jordan's retrospective at Sam. Me in front row, tears proud. 30 years locked, wed. And on anniversary, Lake Redux. Mateo officiating now 23, voice sure. You taught me love's the ultimate fix. Vows refreshed, kiss eternal. In Seattle's embrace, we'd unlocked not just doors, but generations. Legacy of hearts wide open, storms weathered to rainbows. Mateo's college acceptance letter arrived on a crisp October morning, the envelope from RISD Rhode Island School of Design. Crisp against the breakfast clutter of coffee rings and half-eaten toast. At 18, our son had blossomed into a force. Tall and lean like Jordan in youth, with my stubborn jaw and an artist's soul that poured into digital animations blending code and color. He burst into the kitchen, paper aloft, whoop echoing off the beams we'd reinforced ourselves years back. I got in. Full ride. Even. Jordan swept him into a bear hug, blonde-streaked gray now, laugh rich as aged whiskey. Knew it, Mijo. Providence won't know what hit him. I joined, clapping his back, chest tight with that parental cocktail. Pride laced with the ache of empty nests. Proud doesn't cover it, kid. But East Coast? You're really leaving us to the rain. He grinned, our eyes, sparkling. Gotta spread wings, Dad. But weekends? You'll visit. Force feed me salmon till I beg. The banter masked the undercurrent, the impending quiet. 30 years of us had woven a life dense with echoes. Mateo's first words in this house. Jordan's canvases lining halls. My tool belt hung by the door like a sentinel. The bungalow, once a blank slate, now hummed with history. Scratches on floors from puppy paws, burn marks from forgotten pots during late-night inspirations. Packing commenced amid chaos. Boxes labeled with inside jokes. Dad's junk drawer of doom. Farewells to soccer buddies at a bonfire on the beach. Alky sands glowing under harvest moon. Jordan threw himself into it, organizing with manic energy. But I caught him pausing at Mateo's room, hand lingering on a faded drawing from kindergarten. Our family, stick figures under a rainbow lock. Nesting over, he said that night, as we lay in bed, rain pattering familiar. Feels like losing Elena all over. I pulled him close, spooning tight. Not losing, launching. He's us, Jordan. Unlocked and flying. His sigh warmed my neck. I know. Just hold me tonight. Always. My hand slid south, cupping him gentle, strokes coaxing sighs to moans. He arched, turning to claim my mouth. Our love making a slow unraveling. Familiar paths trod with renewed reverence. Climax's soft waves cresting in unison. After tangled and tender, he traced my wedding band. 30 years. Still sparks. Bonfire? I murmured, kissing knuckles. Mateo's departure was airport ritual evolved. Hugs marathon, promises of calls, his backpack stuffed with care packages, jerky, sketch pads, a mini toolkit for dorm fixes. As the gate swallowed him, Jordan leaned on me, tears silent. Our boy's gone. Temporarily, I said, arm around waist. Come on, dinner out. Celebrate the launch. We chose our spot. A hole in the wall in Fremont, trolls guarding the door, where we'd first post-pride debriefs decades back. Over IPAs and fish tacos, toasts clinked. To empty nests, Jordan said, eyes mischievous. And rediscovering ours. The implication hung electric. Home found us shedding coats in the hall, kisses igniting like dry tinder, hands fumbling buttons, stumbling to bedroom with laughter bubbling. On sheets worn soft by years, we explored like newlyweds. Jordan atop, grinding slow, my hips rising to meet, gasps sinking to Rain's rhythm. Miss this, just us, he panted, release shuddering through. More now, I agreed, flipping him, entering deep, thrusts deliberate, eyes locked in wordless vows, ecstasy built, crashing mutual, leaving us adrift in afterglow. Empty nest honeymooned us. Spontaneous road trips to Olympic hot springs, soaks steaming with stories retold. Cooking classes where Jordan's flair met my precision, meals ending in kitchen counter trysts. We renovated the bungalow anew. Master suite expanded. Studio merged with a sunroom for collaborative chaos. But freedom's flip, old ghosts stirred. Jordan's sleep grew restless, sketches turning abstract dark. Echoes of Tyler's long-buried barbs resurfacing in dreams. One night he bolted awake, sweating. He was there, saying I wasn't enough, that you'd leave like he did. I held him, heart aching. Ancient history, you're my everything. Therapy beckoned again. Vintage now, silver-haired counselor chuckling at our recidivism. Sessions unpacked legacy fears. My Jamie shadow, Jordan's control ghosts. You've built empires, she said. Now empires of self. Progress peaked. Jordan's new series, Echoes Unlocked. Exploring queer longevity. Exhibited to raves. I mentored apprentices, shop legacy secured. Mateo's calls anchored. Freshman woes. Crushes fumbled. Animations critiqued. But triumphs too. First film fest nod. Visits flew him home. Dinners raucous. Us grilling him on that boy from sculpture. One Thanksgiving, he brought Kai, lithe, with Korean roots and a coder's brain. Shy smiles blooming under our welcome. He's important, Mateo confided post-meal as we washed dishes. Jordan nudged me, whispering, our turn to advise? We did, gentle, sharing our locked door origin. Kai's eyes widening. That's epic. Like a rom-com with stakes. Real stakes, I said. Worth every turn. Winter brought a gift. Early retirement whispers. Shop franchised fully. Jordan's tenure tenured. Time for dreams deferred. World tour? He proposed over cocoa, maps unfurled. Yes, slow savoring. Plans hatched. Europe first, then Asia, cabins and cafes calling. But spring's thaw unearthed a thorn. Health check for me. Prostate flagged. Biopsy looming. Waiting rooms echoed old vigils, Jordan's hand vice tight. We'll fight, he vowed, echoing Elena's battle. Benign relief tsunami, but wake up. Checkups routine, vulnerability owned. Keeps us honest, Jordan said. Post-celebratory hike, summit view sprawling. Summer sailed us to Italy. Venice canals gondola gliding, hands linked. Florence galleries where Jordan sketched David anew, me photographing his focus. One Tuscan eve, vineyard picnic under cypresses, wine loosening tongues. Regrets? He asked, head on my lap. None. You? Only not sooner. Kiss deepened, rolling in grass. Love-making alfresco, stars witnesses to moans carried on breeze. Release starburst, affirming life's vintage. Fall homecoming, Mateo and Kai engaged, ring simple as ours. Wedding planning ensued, our backyard, rain or shine, family melding. Ceremony day, bower blooming, vows echoing ours. In locks and keys, we find home. As rings exchanged, Jordan teared beside me, whispering, full circle, honeymoon for them, our San Juan's gift. Empty nesters again, we danced in kitchen to old jazz, bodies swaying close. Grandpa's soon, I teased. Eventually, he laughed, spinning me. Night ended in bed, passions rekindled, explorations tender, climaxes shared sighs. Years gilded. Grandkids? Lila first, then Theo. Tiny tyrants tumbling in garden, Jordan drawing their chaos, me building forts. Mateo's animations Oscar-buzzed, Kai's apps revolutionizing art ed. Pride at 60. Us grandmarshals, Kane's jaunty, hands linked. Speech, Jordan's voice, weathered strong. Love's longest lock? Time. And we picked it daily. Crowd thundered, Mateo hugging tight. Final years. Cabin our retreat, Olympics first sentinel. Frailties crept. Jordan's hands arthritic, brushes passed to Lila. My knees creaked, but walks persisted, arms linked. One last anniversary, Lakeshore. Still? He asked, frail but fierce. Forever unlocked, I replied, kiss frail but fire. His passing came gentle. Spring dawn, hand in mine, smile fading to peace. Grief hollowed, but legacy filled. Family gathered, stories his monument. Alone? No, love's echo eternal. At his grave, under cherry bloom, I whispered, wait up, fixing one last lock. Our tale? Unlocked lives, rippling generations. Proof that from one door's whisper springs infinities. Hearts eternally key. The cherry blossoms had just begun their annual confetti dance over Green Lake when I felt the first real twinge of alone. Not the hollow after Jordan's funeral, but a deeper marrow ache. The kind that settles when mirrors reflect a man staring back too familiar, too weathered. 68 now, silver threading what remained of my curls. The bungalow felt vast without his laugh bouncing off the walls we'd painted together a dozen times over. Mateo's calls from Providence bridged miles. Dad, Lila's first steps video incoming. Kai's app just hit 1 million downloads. But voices crackled through speakers couldn't fill the quiet spaces where Jordan's easel once stood. I kept busy, of course, handyman habits die hard. The shop ran smooth under apprentices who'd become sons in all but blood, and I tinkered with community projects. Building ramps for elders at the senior center, teaching lockpicking to at-risk youth as metaphor for second chances. Life's tumblers, I'd say, demonstrating the pick's dance. A line if you patient. Their eyes, wide with that queer kid spark I'd seen in Jordan's first gaze, reminded me purpose persisted. But evenings? Those were Jordan's haunt. I'd pour a single scotch, his brand, peaty and bold. Sit on the porch swing he'd carved from Olympic cedar, watching dusk paint the sky in indigos he would have captured on canvas. Memories played like reels. Our first rain-soaked kiss, Mateo's birth tears mingling joy and terror, Tuscany trysts under cypress sighs. Love, I'd learned, wasn't possession but permeation. Jordan in every creek, every bloom. One such twilight, as fireflies blinked lazy in the garden, my phone buzzed. Not Mateo, but an unknown. Alex Rivera? This is Sam from Cornish, Jordan's old colleague. We're mounting a retrospective. Unlocking echoes. Need your input. Memories, photos? Heart stuttered. The series, his final, born of Elena's loss and our nest emptying, had toured nationally, but a homecoming? I agreed, voice rough. He'd love that. Prep pulled me from stupor. Sifting albums in the attic, dust motes dancing like his brushstrokes. Digitizing letters, his script looping elegant. Lila and Theo visited weekends. Grandkids now 5 and 3, whirlwinds with his eyes. Diving into boxes, demanding stories. Tell the door one again, Grandpa. Lila begged, curled on my lap. I did, embellishing. The rain's fury, the voice's plea, the key's turn that opened worlds. Theo, thumb-sucking solemn, added, and they lived happy ever after? Happier, I amended, hugging tight, because love's an ever-after verb, keeps unlocking. Exhibit opening loomed spring, city buzzing anticipation. I collaborated with curators, placing pieces. Barricade first, our origin door, abstracted in oak tones and shadow blues. Nesting central, family swirls in warm ochres. Echoes finale, voids filled with light, his hands tremor visible in final strokes. Night arrived crisp, gallery in Pioneer Square thrumming. Queer icons mingling with collectors, pride flags draping arches. Mateo and Kai flanked me. Arms linked, Lila and Theo in tiny vests waving signs. Grandpa Jordan's art rocks. As ribbon snipped, crowd hushed for my words. Jordan Hale Rivera. I began, voice steadying. Locked a door once. Not from fear alone, but the world's weight. But through that wood, he whispered to a stranger me, and unlocked a life. Laughter rippled at the hook, eyes misting as I wove our tale. Storms weathered, joys harvested, losses alchemized to art. He taught me love isn't fixed. It's fluid, a constant pick at the heart's tumblers. Tonight we celebrate his keys, to us, to you, to infinities. Applause thundered, hugs enveloping. Old friends from that first pride, students he'd mentored now curators. A young artist approached, early 20s, non-binary with tattoos blooming vines. Your story is why I came out. Thank you. Their words bomb, I nodded. Jordan's the thanks. Pay it forward. After party at the bungalow. Tables groaning with potluck. Tamales from my sister, Kai's fusion apps. Laughter spilling into garden. Mateo cornered me by the swing. You okay, Dad? It's big. Bittersweet. I admitted, scotch warming palm. But right. He's here. In the stories, the smiles. Kai joined, arm around Mateo's waist. We scattered his ashes by the lake. But tonight, he's everywhere. Dawn crept, guests dwindling, grandkids slumbering upstairs. Alone on porch, I felt him. Phantom hand on shoulder, cologne faint. Miss you, I whispered to stars. Miss you too. The voice real, startled but warm. I turned. Evan, Jordan's protege from Cornish, late 30s. Lean with wire rim glasses and a sketchpad perpetual underarm. He'd spoken at the opening, voice cracking on memories of Jordan's guidance. Couldn't sleep, he said, settling on steps, brew in hand. Your speech gutted me. He saved me, back when I was lost post coming out. I nodded, familiar tale. He had that gift, seeing locks before bars. We talked till birds stirred. His move to Seattle for the exhibit. Solo parenting a daughter post-divorce. Art's solace in solitude. Laughter crept. Jordan anecdotes. Shared foibles. He'd say you're still fixing. Even retired. Evan chuckled. Guilty. Dawn's light caught his eyes. Green, thoughtful. And something stirred. Not spark but ember warm against grief's chill. Weeks wove tentative. Coffee meets at the gallery. Evan curating extensions. Me consulting on installs. His daughter, Nora, 8, fierce with pigtails. Bonded with Lila over drawing bees. Mateo teased gentle. New chapter, Dad? Not rushing, I demurred. But, open. Evan's presence eased edges. Walks by the lake, discussing Jordan's influences. Matisse curves in his lines, my practicality in framing choices. One afternoon, rain sudden, we ducked under arbor at the park, shoulders brushing. Thanks for this, he said, water dripping from hair. Feels like breathing again. Our gaze held, and I leaned, kiss tentative, soft, questioning. He met it, hand cupping jaw, a bloom not replacing but adjoining. Pulled back, smile shy. That okay? More, I whispered. Courtship unfolded gentle. Dinners at his queen and walk up, Nora's bedtime stories shared. Hikes where he'd sketch vistas, me pointing out structural quirks in barns. Intimacy built slow. Kisses deepening over wine. Hands exploring over clothes. Respect for history's honoring. First night together. His place, Nora at sleepover. Candles flickering like hesitant stars. We undressed, deliberate, scars and lines, maps of lives lived full. His body lean, marked by time's kindness, yielded under my touch. Moans soft as he guided me. Entry measured. Rhythms sinking to heartbeats. Climax crested shared. Tears mingling. Joy for now, honor for then. After curled, he traced my key tattoo. Jordan. Part of me, I said. Like you now. Months deepened. Blending families. Nora calling me Alex the Fixer. Grandkids scheming playdates. Mateo's blessing over brunch. Happy looks good, Dad. Summer sealed. Trip to the cabin, Evan and Nora joining. Kayaks on the lake. Fireside tales where I wove our origins, his added. One eve, stars thick, he proposed casual, ring simple, silver key. Unlock this with me? Yes. I breathed, kiss ceiling. Wedding small. Lakeside again, circle intimate, Mateo officiating, Lila flower girl, Theo ring bearer. Vows. In echoes and new keys, I choose you. Honeymoon. Portland wander, bookstores and brews, bodies nightly affirming. Passions varied, tender to torrid, love's language fluent. Years gilded further. Evan and I co-taught at Cornish. Art meets craft. Nora off to college, a queer engineer blooming. Grandkids multiplied. Mateo's twins. Evan's niece adopted into fold. Pride at 75. Us on float, waving to waves, hands clasped. Mine with Jordan's ring retired to chain. Evan's fresh beside. Reflection in mirrors now. Not alone, but allied, stories layered. Hearts compound. Jordan's last whisper, echoed in every unlock. Keep picking. And I did. Doors, days, destinies. A life testament. Love accumulates, keys multiplying. Locks mere invitations to more.